020 is what the truck came with. 020 is what should go in there. Now, I've got data. I have Gale Banks input on it, and I have Driven Racing Oil input on it, who doesn't even have a duck in this pond, but I went ahead and asked for their opinion anyway. Yes, and I did say Gale Banks answered a question for me on the Truck Show podcast, which I will play later on. It's pretty cool that we got a response from him, but let's roll this. Now, it used to be the biggest issue was the only oil that you could get is the 0W20 right here, the AC Delco stuff. This was it. And then when it became scarce, and you could not get it. So people were looking, can I run 1540? Can I run 530? I got to run something else. Well, now there's a lot more out there, and one of which is actually the AMSOIL, which does have the Dexos D certification on it. So these are what I tend to use right here, these 020s. There's a bunch of them available now, so there's really no reason to not be able to get the 020. Now let's get into the data. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some specifications from the main bearings of 3 significant engines that GM offers right now. We have the LM2 LZ0, we have the L8T, which is a gasoline 6.6 liter engine, runs 5W30 oil, and then we have the L5P, which is a 15W40 oil. And let me show you these main bearing clearances. Big of a difference there is when they're going from a 0W20 to a 5W30 to a 15W40. Now I just want to throw a little fun fact in there, all right? So when I was doing the research on this, I actually compared the LM2 to the LZ0, and I wanted to see what the oil pressures look like. There's a significant difference. So please forgive me, I need my notes. All right, so the oil pressure at 2,500 RPM on the LM2, right, is rated 26 to 41 PSI. The LZ0, they changed it to 38 to 52 PSI. So that is a 25% improvement on oil pressure from the LM2 to the LZ0. Now this is a variable oil pump, so if you're going to be playing around with oil and changing the thickness of it, you're going to be messing with these oil pressures. It's going to be, don't do it. So what is GM's stance on this? Well, according to document 4855837, which is actually in your owner's manual, the document number isn't there, but this information is in your owner's manual. It says, failure to use the recommended engine oil or equivalent can result in damage not covered by vehicle warranty. So if you're still under warranty, stick with that 0W20 because obviously you want to retain your warranty, right, and have no issues. So it's best to stick with the way that the manufacturer designed this engine to operate. All right, so we need more info rather than just, hey, main bearing clearances, hey, don't do it because the main bearing clearances, GM says don't do it. So let me tell you, I fired off an email to Driven Racing Oil, and they don't even offer any of this stuff. This is 020, 530, 1040, 5040. They don't offer it, but I asked their opinion because they build racing engine oil, and they said stick to 0W20. So that kind of tells you a little something right there. But if that's not enough, Truck Show Podcast. I don't know if you guys listen to Truck Show Podcast, but I do. And Facebook, they posted up, hey, we're going to have a live interview. Not a live interview. We're going to have an interview with Gale Banks for our new upcoming podcast. Do you have any questions? And I was like, hot diggly dang, I have a question because I'm doing research on this 0W20 thing. You know, can we run 5W30? Let's ask Gale Banks. So they actually answered the question on the Truck Show podcast, and they allowed me to use this recording here. So thanks to the Truck Show podcast. If you guys aren't listening to it, definitely start listening to it. But let's roll this.
All right, Greg Nelson writes, what's Gale Banks' opinion on someone running a higher weight oil in their 3-liter Duramax? It calls for 0W20, but what if one were to run a 5W30 diesel-specific oil or a 5W40?
Well, diesel-specific, okay. Changing weight, I wouldn't. The OEM designed to that target. If you go to an oil that has a higher shear or a higher viscosity, it'll hurt your fuel economy, especially if you just do short trips around town mostly.
People don't think about that your oil can affect your fuel economy.
Absolutely.
That's why so many of the hybrids came out with zero weight. I mean, the Prius was, I think, one of the first of the vehicles that came out with zero weight because of the efficiency gains.
What'd you say, 0W?
I think it calls for 0W20 from GM. I think that's the factory spec.
Stay there.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what everybody says, right? Just stay there. Don't go changing 0W20 for 530, 1540. Well, I guess you can if you want to. It's totally up to you because it's your truck. You could do what you want.